It's very funny when you hear people who call men deviants disgusting and want to sexualize the female body for playing games like Stellar Blade.
Yeah, and I remember you saying this before that like you're like, well, you know, the gay women do it too. And me, I'm not super like I don't really understand the need to share your sexual preferences and everything else with everyone. People won't even know that I'm bi unless it comes up in conversation.
You don't make it your whole personality.
Yeah, like is that really what you want to be known for? Your sexual preferences? You don't have anything else to offer the world except your identity?
What is going on, everybody? We are back with another riveting episode of Unfiltered Gamers. I am Delacroix.
And I am Mad Curious.
And Matt and me I feel like we had a good Halloween. Did you have a good Halloween?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I didn't really do much. I streamed all week in the Batman costume. That's about it. Yeah.
Did you get any trick-or-treaters?
No, I live in Fort Knox. I made it. What was the joke I made the other day? If somebody knocks, they're gonna get the greeting of a fort.
What the hell? Why are you doing that? Like with poor little kids. Like I just want some candy. Here comes this lady.
It's like fingerprint systems, you know, that kind of stuff. You literally can't get to my floor unless you live on my floor.
What the fuck? There's no like kids in your floor in your complex.
I mean, there's not enough units that they're gonna send like a trick or treater down the hallway, probably.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Where is that? You guys got like the Bachelor apartment complex.
Pretty
Everybody
much,
there's like single divorcees and stuff.
Yeah, I don't usually see kids around here, to be honest.
Okay.
It's like people my age or like older people chilling, retired, you know.
So anybody,
but it's usually single people or couples. It's not really like, it's not kids really.
All right, I guess that's okay. I mean, I guess you see that a lot nowadays with everything going on. Like people just like, it is like this whole notion that nobody's having kids anymore, and people are like, the world is going to end. We can't repopulate. Have more babies, and people are like, we don't want to have babies because it's too fucking expensive. I mean, we have like finite
resources, so I don't buy that at all. But you know, like that it's a problem. The only people that's a problem for are people who are rich who need, you know, their people to do work for them.
I guess I see having children as like free slave labor.
More or less, yeah.
If you think about it, because people get the kids to do everything.
Yeah, more or less.
They like get the kids to take out the trash, do the laundry, mow the lawn.
Yep.
You know.
I'm with you.
I think that's the benefit of having kids. They just
put them to work.
Exactly, and you don't have to pay them because you're providing room and board.
And you call it learning. You're just like, well, you're learning how to live. That's
exactly.
We're on the same page.
Child labor.
We've
Just
never
bring
been
it back.
on the same page this early in the episode.
I know.
I don't know how long that'll last because apparently Dayla has surprise topics for us today.
It's just a one surprise topic, and I need you to be 100% honest. And if you're not being honest with me, I'm gonna be very upset. So you have to be honest, okay?
Okay,
so,
I'll do my best.
I got a question for you, Mad.
Wait, before you do any questions, I just want to tell everybody I apologize to society for not wearing makeup today. I couldn't do it.
Oh my god! I don't
finished cooking right before stream and eating and cleaning up, and I couldn't.
Oh, what'd you cook?
I made steak.
What'd you cook? Steak, nice. Yeah. How'd you make your steak?
Medium
what kind
rare.
of steak?
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Well, what kind of cut was it? What kind of steak was it?
Ribeye.
Ribeye?
Yeah.
Okay, very lean.
Had some fatty.
Okay. How do you make how do you make it? You make it medium rare. Where you make it with some peppers, some onions.
I literally kept it so simple. Just salt, butter, olive oil in the pan, and salt, pepper, olive oil in the pan, and then a minute before it's finished, put some butter and thyme. That's it.
And you just like baste it constantly.
Yeah, just real simple.
Constantly baste it.
Yeah.
Let it rest.
Yep. That's it.
And what do you have as a side? So you got your steak. What did you just steak?
No, I had mashed potatoes and roasted. What did I do? Okra.
Roasted.
You don't like okra? You've never roasted okra?
Yeah, no,
you
I
just put it in
okra.
the oven at like a high temp for a little bit. Just olive oil, salt, pepper.
Okra.
So good. If you really want to add other seasonings, go for it. Or add like a little bit of red pepper flakes or something.
Dude, my grandma used to make. I hate okra, bro. I hate it.
It's like candy when you roast it. It's so good.
It's like candy when you roast it. You are despicable. Oh, dude. Ever since I was young, I hated okra because because of like my background, we're Caribbean, so we make okras and a lot of like stews and stuff. But then like I just remember it always being like slimy, and
They're
like I
doing it
just
wrong.
never.
If it's
No,
slimy, you're
that's how
doing
we
it wrong.
made it. No,
Unless you
that's how
want
it
it
was
to be
made.
slimy. I mean, in that case, sure, it's right, but
It was just.
mine's not slimy.
I just hated it. I hate it's like me and okra. No good. No good.
Have you?
No good at
I
all.
mean, not even fried. That's very southern to me, but yeah, fried okra is like I'd only ever had it fried until recently. They started putting it at the farmers market. I was like, And then one of my friends had okra. They made really spicy okra, and I was like, this is really good. So I just was like, let me pick up some okra and see what I can do here.
No, it's like
And, you know.
liver. Like I don't like liver either. I don't like liver.
I mean, I could see that. That's a very dense, strong, intense flavor. But comparing that to okra, interesting. I mean, fair enough. I don't like olives, so we all don't like something.
Yeah, olives is like a hit or miss for me. Like especially like when it's a pizza, Kalamata olives, or like even the just green olives. Very hit or miss.
I actually did it for like a sub goal once, and it was like one of the highest sub goals I've ever had and met. And I could barely get them down. Like the first time they had me mix it with like those bad beans, like the bad jelly beans.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like a whole handful, and I like almost threw up on stream, which is like you can't do that. It's like TOS breaking. And then I did just a few and was able to get them down, but it was like a whole.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's the green with the red pits. That they told me that's the one to get. I was like, all right.
Okay. Well, I got a question for you, Mad. Okay, you ready for my question? This leads into our first topic.
Probably not.
Okay. You being a person, a woman who is bisexual, right?
Okay.
You have attraction towards men and women.
I don't
correct?
know why we're starting here. This is okay.
Okay. Yeah. Just yes or no. That's the question. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You play a lot of video games too, right?
Yeah.
Do you find yourself getting, like, being attracted to some of your video game characters?
Not really. I've never really done that with like celebrities either. Like I'm very like, I don't like all the labels and the systems, but like I don't really find myself attracted to anyone I don't know, if that makes sense. That I know is also attracted to me. It like there has to be like a flip of a switch for me.
Okay, so
If that makes sense. Like
okay.
I get attracted when I see that someone's attracted to me. Otherwise, it's like my brain doesn't put forth the effort to even.
Okay. So do you ever get attracted to like anamorphic characters?
Like animals?
Humanoid characters? Yeah, like human, like let's say Bowser.
No. Can't say
Never? Well, this goes into our first topic with Sweet Baby Inc.'s CEO Kim Blair's attraction, and it's kind of questionable because this is based off like an old podcast.
Oh no!
And I dived into that, and like just hearing it, it kind of just makes you go, "Yeah, I see it. I see the people who tell you you can't be horny are the most devious people ever, because their horniness comes from a different breed of horny." Like,
yeah.
Me being a guy, I get attracted to like characters or people, right?
Yeah, like, and I should clarify. Yes, I can see like objective attractiveness, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not gonna say like I'm insane and like that doesn't make sense to me. Like I can find characters objectively attractive for the traits that I find attractive. I'm just not. I don't get like crushes the way that some people do, but I get like I can understand being like, oh yeah, this character's hot. Like I can vibe with that.
But when you get to the point where you're like, I think Bowser is attractive, and I've seen fan art, Rule 34, stay away from Rule 34, kids. We see fan art of Bowser, sexy, and then it's just the next slide is this Bowser and his penis is out, and you're like, yeah, I like that, and it's like, what, like, whoa.
Holy are you serious?
Yeah. Well, you want to see the picture or something? You're like, wait, I want to see.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah.
I mean, of course you are, because of, like you said, Rule 34. This stuff, of course, exists.
Yeah. So this podcast was like a while back. It was like I think 4 or 5 years ago, and her and some other people, part of her group on the podcast, were just talking about like they were pretty much sexualizing characters in video games. So the sexualization of characters like Sheik from Zelda.
Okay.
Ocarina of Time. If you ever play the game, Sheik is Zelda cross-dressing. And, you
Okay.
know, she talks about how she was like attracted to that. She found that attractive, like because it was kind of like gender neutral type character. Because you saw Sheik, it was like soft faced, male body, but then it comes out I was Zelda the whole time as a woman.
So a girl in masculine clothing.
Yeah, and then they
Okay.
talked about like characters in the WoW series.
Okay.
WoW stands for World of Warcraft for
Yeah.
those who don't know. They're saying like she was saying like, oh, it's something about a man with like broad shoulders, the shoulder armors, just does it for me, you know. So when you listen to it, it's like, oh, you're just sexualizing the male characters.
Yeah,
But
which plenty of
then-
men do to women, and women do to women, and women do to men. And
Correct.
Yeah, it's all over
Everybody
the
does
place.
it.
Absolutely.
But then we start going down the rabbit hole, and she starts talking about how she's describing thick, girthy necks of very handsome faces and very handsome faces. Thick, girthy necks. Just listen to that.
Okay. All right. We're okay.
And then talking about Bowser's penis and how they find that attractive. And then there's like a I don't know, there's some it's a non-human mammal. Is called it has a Udor skull, and it's these creatures that I guess are from some game, but they have thick, girthy necks, and it's like they're very handsome. Like it's like she gets like a turn on. It's like it just does it for me. So it's very funny when you hear people who call men deviants, disgusting, and want to sexualize the female body for playing games like Stellar Blade.
Yeah. And I remember you saying this before that like you're like, well, you know, the gay women do it too. And me, I'm not super like I don't really understand the need to share like your sexual preferences and everything else with everyone like in public. Like I just like that's why most people won't even know that I'm bi unless it comes up in conversation. Like I'm not out here, hey guys, most of the time, you know, it's just like it's not anyone's business.
You don't make it your whole what am I looking for? Your whole personality.
Yeah, like
some people just make that that's
we've done
that's
some
all they are.
celebrations on stream before during Pride Month just for, you know, the cuties who are part of that. Cutie. I call the chat cuties is what I was.
Oh, okay. I'm like
So it's like I mean it's not identity just isn't like it sounds logically like that's you because it's your identity, right? Like but it's not really what matters. I don't understand why everybody has the need to all of a sudden like I get that people felt very like they couldn't use their identity for the longest time, you know what I mean? Like they couldn't share it.
I get
and
it.
So there's like now it's just like the pendulum has swung. You know, and I think for everybody when they're first like coming out probably, you know, has like that pendulum thing of like I want to share this, you know, once they've shared it. But after that, it's like, is that what you want to be known for all day, every day? Like you don't have anything else to offer the world except your identity? I don't know. It just doesn't, I don't really get it. And then on top of that, if you compare that to straight people or anyone else, it's like, is that really what you want to be known for? Your sexual preferences or anything else? Like I don't, you know what I mean? I want to be known for the things, the ideas that I have, you know, the things that I create.
Yeah.
I don't want to be known for that, I guess, you know?
Yeah, so it's just very funny when you listen to that podcast. It's from it's from 6 years ago, and these people she's talking about, like, you know, just sexualizing characters who are male, who have thick, girthy necks, and fantasizing about banging Bowser and other like non-humanoid creatures.
And I think if you're a CEO, like maybe keep your mouth shut, you know, like. If you're on that professional executive level of anything, like maybe, and just in general, it might be a good idea. But like, especially if you're an executive of a company, maybe like don't talk about any of that. You know what I mean? It's like it's
here's
pretty
the thing.
easy to keep your mouth shut.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Here's the thing. This is where I'm trying to get with this.
Okay.
If you're gonna be talking about sexual deviancy, right, and you're the CEO of any company, right, don't be the person to say it's wrong that other people are doing it.
Like hypocritical.
When you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's extremely hypocritical because it's okay for I've said before, when they talk about women's bodies in video games and saying, oh, it's for the male gaze,
yeah.
they completely leave out gay women out of it.
Yeah.
And even cosplayers who do the cosplay of these characters, and lewd models who do it. Because Jessica Nigri made a freaking moth cosplay, a sexy moth cosplay. When have you ever heard of that? Sexy moth.
Never that I can think of, but you know,
Okay.
Halloween brings out sexy everything. You know what I mean? Like people will just make
Exactly.
costumes of literally anything and turn it sexy. It's the
So-
Halloween way.
But you see it constantly in the industry. But you started to see it more. A lot of people who's called a lot of men like disgusting because they want to play this type of game and that type of game. They have sexual fantasies and sexual attractions to non-humanoid people or humanoid type creatures.
And I think
Like,
personally,
bang-
I'm like, I don't get it. That's getting into the weird stuff for me personally. Like
That's the kink.
I kind of live by like
we're not kink
don't
shaming here.
Yeah, I kind of live by don't kink shame, kink concern, and like I just you know, unless it's something real bad, I don't get it, and I think that starts to get into, like you said, sexual deviancy. Like it starts to get into like seriously keep your mouth shut. Like that's something that you can keep for yourself. Like nobody needs to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just gets very weird because I started to notice a trend too back in the days. It's like people who would attack men for this like big boobs, big ass, the whole jiggle effect, right? Dead. If you ever played Dead or Alive, there was a whole jiggle mechanic, and you could increase the jiggle of the boobs. Whatever. Don't ask me why I know. I just know. But these people criticize men for that, but then they would have these weird kinks that they like to do, where they believe they were animals and like to be scratched and touched a certain way. Even have a list of like the type of animals they are willing to sleep with.
No, that's where I'm past concern. I'm shaming a little bit.
Yeah, and now
That's a no from me.
that's when you get into Rule 34,
Yeah.
and people start having sex with Pokemon, or Pokemon having sex with people.
Yeah, no, I saw that thing. The release of
What thing did you see?
The fan fiction, like, what's it called? It's not the romance novels, the erotica. It's like fan fiction erotica of Pokemon. Like that was part of the Pokemon spoiler release stuff. Is people were talking about it. Like when recently there was a Pokemon like spill of data. Something out of that was somebody in the company writing Pokemon erotica.
Yes.
I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yes. Okay,
I saw
and that's
one
why
of them
that
and like out of curiosity started reading it. I was like, nope. No,
you got
this
too
is
deep. You got too
disturbing.
deep.
I
got
went
too
too
deep.
deep into the rabbit hole. I was like, nope. This is
You
not
gotta
good.
get out.
Yeah.
Once you start
It
getting
was
into
like
deep
as
with like those,
disturbing as it could have been too. I was like, oh god.
and these are the same people in the video game industry who would tell you or tell me I am bad because I like looking at attractive women.
And we've
or
joked about it, right? Like I've
boobs.
like given you
Yeah.
shit for it, and like we've joked about it, but like, how dare you like boobs? But like at the end of the day, I don't really care if there's boobs or not. Like
Exactly.
it's like I'm just gonna play the game and have fun, and if that's something people are really into, as long as it doesn't like turn into something that just becomes like really uncomfortable for everyone, like fuck it, you know, just like enjoy it, whatever.
Exactly.
I guess is kind
But,
of where I'm at.
I mean, everybody has their kinks and stuff. But like we said, sometimes the kinks get too out there where you're like fantasizing about banging Sonic the Hedgehog, and then you order a Sonic the Hedgehog type dildo from Bad Dragon, or you order any type of
I'm sorry, what?
animal type penis dildo from Bad Dragon.
People are doing that in real life?
Yes, you think I'm making this shit up?
I wasn't sure if they were like
Mad.
making it in a game. Like this is a real thing.
Mad. There is a I am in a part of Twitter and the internet that are so dark and disgusting. My mind is destroyed. Okay?
I thought
You never
my
heard the
Twitter
company you never heard of the company Bad Dragon?
Fuck no.
Okay, Bad Dragon is a sex toy company.
I can tell from the context. That's why I'm saying fuck no.
Think
Holy
of-
shit, dude.
Think of any type of penis in the world. Think of any penis. Just think of a penis. They
Okay.
can make it. They have it. You want to fuck a xenomorph? If you're a guy, you want to have xenomorph sex? You could get a xenomorph vagina fleshlight. You want to fuck Bowser's penis? You could buy a Bowser's penis. You want to fuck a dragon's penis? They have it all. There's a cosplayer. She collects the dildos. Collects
I
them.
have like a lot of complex thoughts about just sex being in any media because like
Wait,
it's
hold
always
on.
it's always been part of like art, right? Like statues, paintings, naked people, right? It wasn't always sexual in context. Like it was just naked people, right? Sometimes it was though in these paintings. It just depended on the era and what was going on. So it's always been a part of art. Plus, we know sex sells, right? So in TV
Correct.
and movies and all this stuff. So I have this complex thought process of like what it belongs in. I kind of go back and forth because personally, I just don't think we need porn in art like at all. Like I'm kind of very what's the word for that? Like just I'd say don't have it. Like what do you need that in art for? Just enjoy art and then enjoy that separately. However, who am I to, you know, limit the freedom of other people's arts as long as it's not hurting anyone? So I'm kind of like in both camps at the same time, and I kind of go back and forth. So I'm kind of anti-porn in art, but also don't want to limit anyone's freedom. I don't necessarily want it in my art most of the time that I consume, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And just kind of let other people do their thing. I don't generally think it should be there. I just don't want to limit people. So it's conflicting thoughts. So I have complex thoughts about it is what I wanted to get out there while we're talking about this.
But could you imagine going to somebody's house and they show you a collection of like just dildos?
I think I would just leave. I think that would be when I make my exit. I just can't imagine like that be like. First of all, why would anybody be showing me that? But second of all, like I definitely would.
What if that's somebody you really like? What if you really like that person? Like you have the great.
Oh, like in that context.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be it. That'd be.
But you really like this person, so that's instant. Like...
I'm sure there's somebody else I could really like. I'm positive there are other people I would like just as much that don't have that.
Hey,
so.
all I'm saying is that person is giving you variety. They're like, hey, look at all the things we can do.
They're not boring.
They're not boring, so you have variety. They're like, what do you want today, honey?
No, I'm good. I'm all right.
So just circling back, it just shows like, you know, the hypocrisy of people with things like that. Like don't you're sitting and calling people bad for one thing, but you're doing some of the most like oddest things that to not many. It's not odd to many, but it's kind of this weird. You're sexualizing characters. You yourself are sexualizing characters, and it's a grift. That is a grift. That was 100% a grift right there.
Yeah,
that's a grift.
And
you can't talk about.
It feels like everything that Sweet Baby Inc. says with regards to that and anything else. Because I was having this conversation the other day and I was telling you about it. It feels like every time they say something out of line, everyone around them says, "Oh no, they were joking."
No, they're not joking.
And I just
not everything is
you know, like it's every time.
It's funny because we had that conversation. So to let you guys know what the conversation was, you made a post, right? Or you responded to somebody?
I commented on somebody's post, and they actually like work in gaming. Like they're like a senior, I don't know, UI something. And so I was having like a conversation, like legitimately trying to figure out their thought process on it and being open to learning about it. And we had a really good conversation. It was really respectful, and I got a few things from it. And I think we kind of came to like, okay, I can see where you're coming from. However, I know I shared the conversation with you. You good? You're right.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah. I shared the conversation with you, and you were like, "Nah, I don't buy it. I don't think they're joking." And I need to watch the video again. I said I'd watch the video again with his context in mind, and I need to watch it because that Sweet Baby Inc. video you and I watched, where that context is said, because basically they were talking about SBI, and I introduced that video, and I was like, honestly, I don't think that they're, I don't know that they're having that much effect in the industry. So I agreed with him on that. I was like, I think they're mostly bite, or what is it? Bark, not bite. Like, I don't think that they accomplish much in regards to what they've said about trying to destroy gaming. Like, I don't think there's that much of it. However, but the fact that they're threatening gaming, I don't like. And so that whole like go into your company and threaten them with the results if you don't, hire us.
Yeah,
He said, oh, that's a joke. You know, that was just
that's
taken out of it. And I was like, well, it can't be taken out of context because I've seen the video. And he was like, it wasn't taken out of context. It was taken out of something where the crowd was a bunch of gaming people, and they were under the impression that the whole thing was a joke, and she was just trying to suggest, hey, this is important, but like that was somehow a joke. And he says, you know, that bad wording is what has spread around the internet. And he's like, you know, I've spoken live and that just happens. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I could have stuff taken out of context all the time live, you know, and people could clip stuff and make me look really bad. I get it. But at the same time, like, that doesn't feel like a joke within the context. You know what I mean?
It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a fucking joke because the way she delivered it and everything was like, just like, that is a, like, as I explained to you, that's a fear of loss tactic. That is a tactic that you learn in the sales industry.
Yeah.
I did sales. Before I was doing what I did sales. And what they teach us is give somebody a fear of loss with things. Like, if you ever watch an infomercial, it's like, this product is $59.99, right? But if you buy in the next 5 minutes,
Urgency.
it's $29.99, right? So it's a sense of urgency. You're like, oh shit, if I don't get it now in the next 3 minutes, I'm not going to get it then.
Or like,
there's a
if
tactic.
it's like with investing, they'll be like, like, especially crypto these days, right? They'll be like,
Exactly.
if you don't get on the Bitcoin train now and currencies all go to shit, what are you going to have left? You know, it's like that tactic. Yeah. It's,
so her saying, if you don't, if go into the offices and terrify them with what happens if they don't give you what you want.
Mm-hmm. That's what she said, which is like really concerning, to be honest. It's a concerning
so
line.
the terrifying is telling them, okay, well, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And what has a lot of these companies do? They ran hit pieces. Because, for example, Wukong was like, we don't want you involved in this. And what happened to the day Wukong came out? Oh, the company is filled with a bunch of sexist men. Oh, the company doesn't like diversity. Like, it ran all these hit pieces on the company.
The one that like got to me was the diversity one. The one where it said like that was a negative, like doesn't have diversity. Like, it's one thing to praise a game for having diversity because you like it and you want to see more people realistically in these places, right? But like, to complain that it's not there, and I feel the same way about the other side, as we've seen. Like, it's like if they say, oh, this game doesn't have boobs, it's a bad game. Like, whichever way you slice it, saying that a game doesn't have something most of the time is just like bullshit, to be honest. It's like, the game has this, appreciate it for what it is and analyze it for what it is, right?
Yeah. So it's these people who like ride and stand on this high horse, who look down at others, but they're just as shitty or deviant as just like us. It's just that now they're in a position of power where they could look down and be like, well, if you like this stuff, you're horrible. You cater to the misogynistic, phobic ism, all the fucking buzzwords to make people feel like shit stuff.
Yeah.
When in reality, they're just the same.
And the third thing I've seen that they do with all that is the there was one in particular, I can't remember their name, but have you seen that PowerPoint presentation that they did? And the one person said they want to burn down gaming.
No, I feel like I did, but at the same time,
yeah, I have all these sources if you want them at some point. But I've been saving them, collecting them for a rainy day. But this person legitimately said, like, on the slide and everything, they want to burn down the gaming industry. And I brought that up to the guy as well, and he said, well, I don't know this person. I was like, well, they're part of SBI, and you're defending SBI, so let's talk about it. They want to burn the gaming industry down. And he said, well, you know, he was basically just saying, like, I don't know who that is, but that's not what they do. And I was like, okay, but they said it. So, like, I agree. I haven't seen a lot of results from it. But like you said, Wukong's a good example. We haven't seen a ton of results, but we do see them doing this from time to time. And why it might not have like a ton of results, they're still doing it. They're still saying they're going to do it, and they're still apparently attempting to some degree. So, you know, if they actually made it happen and we stood by and we hadn't said anything the whole time, you know.
I feel like people are trying to like point it out, but again, nobody wants to listen to the village idiot at times, you know?
Yeah, I literally said, well, I'm keeping an eye on them. And he goes, well, you don't really need to keep an eye on them. And I'm like, oh, I'm keeping an eye on them by what they said.
obviously you got to keep an eye on them, because what happens? They come in, say, we're going to consult for your company, and you go, yeah, sure, all right. Next thing you know, the game fucking flops and people fired.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not even.
I don't think most of the time it has to do with what they did, to be honest. Like, just from what
me
I
too.
see. Yeah.
Me too. But crazy enough, it just makes me think of something else where a lot of people now saying they're afraid to work in the gaming industry right now.
Yeah.
Because it feels like the minute they're done with the game, right? They're done. They don't have a job after that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been trying to dig into the data and analyze more. And I think most of it is just the budgets for games have gotten out of control. I mean, there's just, to meet profitability when you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars just requires too large a market. And if you're going to do that, you have to really, really widen your market by making a game that everybody's going to love. And they don't want to do that. They want to make a game that a specific group's going to love. And so if they're going to do that, it's got to be a lower budget where they're going to be able to be profitable on that. And I just don't feel like that's happening enough. I don't feel like it's one thing or the other. I think it's just you've got to match the budget to the target market. That's it at the end of the day.
Well, I think in the sense of, like, you know, these people are on contracts and they're not revealing that information to us. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I hire you to work for my game company, and it's till the game is done, right? That's it. I'm paying you X amount of dollars, and when the game is done.
Oh, you're saying that it should be contracts and like freelance and that type of thing.
No. I think
they're treating real employees like that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so some information came out where everybody's saying they're afraid to work in the video game industry because after the game is done, these people losing jobs. There's layoffs, right? Mm-hmm. Now, amongst those layoffs, how many of those people are full-time employees or like, you know, just it's like a length thing. So what I mean by that is this. So during COVID, I got offered a position to work at Disney Studios, Disney in New York, and the contract, it was to do COVID testing because I worked in the health and safety field. So they was like, oh, come to our sets, and you know, you do COVID testing. It's a 6-month cycle, 6-month period with hope of extension. It's a full-time position,
right?
6 months with possible extension, right?
Yeah.
So some people see, oh, I'm going to work for this company, right? Mm-hmm. It's 6 months, and I could get hired after that. I could continue. What's the company gonna do? I'll keep you on. The game is done. Okay. All right. Thank you for having. Thank you. You know, we're gonna part ways. Yeah. Because maybe your job title wasn't as, like, you know, your job title is a dime a dozen. I could get another one of you. You know. But maybe this one artist who's really good, I'm gonna extend his contract now. Okay, you're gonna stay on to the next project.
I was actually researching which specific jobs are very hard to come by because it's. I've seen both complaints within like the same article sometimes where they'll say, "Well, the gaming industry doesn't have enough like professionals to do the work," and I'm like, "Well, they're laying people off, so how does that make sense?" And there's like a certain level of jobs that they need more of, and everybody else isn't getting. And it's like, well, why don't you promote some of those people and give them more work and, you know, train them properly? It doesn't take that long to learn most jobs, if we're being perfectly honest. It doesn't take much to get an employee to a good level if you're offering them right incentive and training. That's it. It doesn't take long this isn't rocket science, you know?
Yeah, but in the game industry, it's like, what is your job? What do you do? Are you the color guy? Okay, you do colors. I could probably hire 20 of you and find 20 more of you. Yeah. Oh, you're a voice actor? Everybody's a fucking voice actor now. Yeah. But how good of an actor are you?
I saw one stat where they said it was like 80% of a game's development was labor, and that's and listen, labor is the highest.
But labor in what way?
Yeah, well, labor is the highest bucket for like every company pretty much ever. Okay.
Of course.
There's a few that it can kind of vary, you know, if they're doing more machine type stuff, but like a lot of the time it's labor. But 80 is really high, like really high.
But when you say labor, it's so vast. Like labor, what is the labor? You can't. So, and I'm going to use construction because how it works for me. A labor force, okay? Now, labor for what? The guys pushing the broom, the guys freaking the mechanics. Because when you say labor in construction, it's the kids pushing the broom. It's the guys pushing the broom who's taking out the trash.
Well,
right?
labor in like a corporation is going to involve the direct and indirect expenses related with like the employees. anything that's related
Okay.
to the employees. So, I mean, they even sometimes will count like HR in there, at least in budgets. It depends. But like everything related. So, the full compensation package, which, as you and I know, is much larger than the salary. You know, they're covering a lot of times in these large corps, it's going to be 401ks, healthcare. You know, they're going to have some other benefits for you at the company. They might include, depending on how they do it, you know, some of it might be more on the operations side, but sometimes, you know, however they want to break it out with like the breakouts in a P&L are more about consistency than it is about like where exactly they are. If that makes sense. It's not going to be just one uniform thing for every company. It depends on how they want to break it out for the relevancy of their company, if that makes sense. So there's a little bit of leeway in between the categories. But yeah, I mean, labor is always going to be huge, and it's always going to be everything that's related to like keeping your employees working. And the supplies and stuff can kind of be related to, but you're gonna like put all of that within the budget. And so maybe that's when they're saying 80% is like everything related, but most of the time you're gonna have only the direct employee expenses like really under labor.
Yeah. So I would just like to see the type of positions that are being laid off constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what were these people contracts? Like, when you took the job, did you know you were going to be let go after the development of the game was done? Like, once the game hit the shelves.
Be different, right? But like even in Dragon Age, I was reading something about it like today or yesterday, where they said they laid off like 50 employees right before it launched, and some of them were people who'd been with the company since like the beginning of Dragon Age. Now, this is just somebody saying it. I have no evidence of this. Right?
So here's my question: the beginning of the Dragon Age, we talking the new Dragon Age that just came out, or the first Dragon Age that ever came out? That's the question.
Exactly. And it's hard to know sometimes because if you don't have any supporting evidence, you're just taking somebody as like, trust me, bro, you know?
So how long did Dragon Age take to develop? 2, 3 years, 4 years. Let's say 5 years top. This took a 5-year development team.
So
I'm throwing out numbers.
Some are saying 8, depending on how you look at it. They scrapped a multiplayer game to make this one. So technically it's built upon that, but it's a completely different game than when they started. So they could technically say it's a different budget if they really want to. It depends on how they want to break it out.
So, okay. So you worked at the company for 8 years. When the game was done, you got kicked.
Yeah.
That's what
they're saying.
That seems,
I don't know if that's true, but.
Okay, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sorry. You're hearing it from somebody who's been in business firms and stuff. That's how business works.
It is.
That's it. The project is X amount of years, X amount of months. That's it. And when it's done, thank you, you're gone. If
like if
we
your
like you,
department is removed from a company, like you either morph into a different department or you're gone.
Yeah, or if that's why in a lot of companies they tell you like talk amongst a network so you can become a valuable asset. So when the layoff starts happening, they go, okay, we actually want you to work on our next product. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. And it's not just companies that are project based. It's like when they move resources around and when they move the way that they've outlined the company around and where their focus and where their budgets are, right? And because that's similar to projects in a way, but it's just a different breakout. I've seen that in every company that I worked for, even if I only worked for them for like, I think the shortest was like a year and 6 months. They always have like these reorgs is what they call them. And one in particular, right before I got hired at a company, they had built like, you know, like a center of excellence. I don't know if you've seen those in corporations, but it's like a center of excellence. So it's basically like where they want to transform and make the data better. So that's why, like, when I say I'm a data expert, I am, because I didn't just work for like regular corporate. I worked for like the transformation corporate. So everything that I did was like a more creative version of stuff and like looking at things in a different light and like trying to improve processes. And so for my last job, that was like 3 years, and it was at like one of the biggest companies that exists in the world. And I owned certain departments here and there, and like that was like my thing. And so I had like my customer, and I was the only one like serving that customer within the company. And like if there was one in particular, like where they said, okay, this is going to morph into this area now. So you no longer have that job. You can't have that job. It doesn't exist anymore. And so they then said, and they didn't even warn us on this one. And this is where I just was done, because it was like the third move in like 3 years. And it's one thing to like say, hey, they're going to move departments like so that you learn the job. But when it's like forced because it's like these different things, that's kind of annoying. So they had said, okay, well, everything's changing for everyone and now you have to like spend this many hours a day training people and getting trained. And that was like our whole job for like 3 months or something. And it was just pain, you know? And this is what happens everywhere. It doesn't matter what corporation you're in. They love doing reorgs because that's how they rebudget and they analyze and they re-efficiency. I don't really know what the word for that is. You know what I mean? Like, so what you're saying is very, very true in all of these different contexts is that it's like they're going to have a project and they're going to move you around. Now in finance, your job is pretty secure because they always need people making their money work faster and work better. But in a lot of other jobs, your job is not as safe.
Yeah, especially if something like a game development where it's like 8 years you're in a project, 8 years. So if you're in a game project for 8 years and your job was like sound technicality and fucking the motion cap and all that stuff, that's 8 years. You have you have 8 years in your resume now to say, oh, this is what I did and I worked in this game. Some people actually split their time up too, because it's like, okay, I got a blue break, I'm gonna work with this other company helping them. So you building that resume, you building that notoriety. So if you've been on this project for 8 years and you get laid off, the thing is people making it sound like they were at the company for like we don't have a time frame. Like I said, they're just saying before the game release, people laid off. We don't know how long these people were at the company. Nobody's giving that stuff.
Yep.
You could say stuff for like people who work for like companies like Game Informer. Like I've been with Game Informer for 20 years, 30 years, and I got laid off. Or I've been with Game Informer for freaking since the start, and I got laid off because
and they're looking for redundancies too.
Because
and so you
of
might have done a good
change.
job, but somebody else might have been the better fit for the job. You know?
Or companies get acquired and people get clipped. Like perfect example is like if you ever heard of Rooster Teeth?
Sounds familiar.
They did Red versus Blue, had a podcast, did a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So Rooster Teeth was a bunch of four friends got together, loved Halo, did a little web series, blew up, made a company, had podcasts, had their own cons and everything. Over time, when your company starts getting kind of big, you're gonna need some more investors and stuff. And Discovery, Warner Brothers came in and bought them when they acquired them. So when that happened, some people kind of like, I don't know about this. And the company starts, when a bigger company absorbs your small company, the first thing they do, they look and go, okay, what do you do here? Okay, all right, so this is what's gonna happen, and here are your options. And most of the time, people are like, well, I don't want to do this because I don't feel like I have creative choice anymore, so I'm going to leave.
Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah. When my first job was actually coming in after an acquisition.
Yeah.
And so it was like they were shifting everything around and they needed some new employees for whatever. I don't know if it was because they laid people off or just because they wanted to expand things, but they were hiring new people after an acquisition. And so these things change everything. I mean, acquisitions change absolutely everything.
Yeah. So with companies laying people off, we as the people on the outside looking in, we don't know the truth.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy for me to get on here and say I was laid off, the company did this and such, we had no warning and blah blah blah. Here's the emails and everything. Yeah, a lot of times they're not going to warn you that you're going to get clipped. They're just going to clip you. There's like, that's it. Or you're going to have a big meeting and say, as of today, you're all without work. And that happened to me before.
I actually did the other side of it. I did the work to get people laid off.
You're a horrible person.
No, it was pretty fucked up.
Cancel mad.
It was literally part of why I started to become disillusioned with finance because it felt bad. I was finance, technically employed by corporate, but I worked at a subsidiary. And finance and HR were in the building, but they were technically employed by the greater company, not the subsidiary. So we analyzed all of the employees of the subsidiary, which were people sitting next to us. And I went through and made the program, basically, like all of the spreadsheets and all the reports for who's doing what that does for the company, how much their salaries are, like building all of that. All of these different databases, back-end stuff, interviews, all the stuff. Like I did a ton of work for that. And I didn't at first know what it was for. And then the person that sat right beside me got laid off, and she'd been there for 8 years, and it was like truly upsetting. It like fucked me up a little bit.
Doing the layoffs,
Like I
being
didn't
the one
do it
who,
personally, but I like
uh,
my work had resulted in the person who sat beside me who loved her career, loved that company, and had been there for 8 years. I'd been there for like a year at that point, and she was getting laid off.
yeah, that's what usually happens too. One of my companies, one of my old company, when the parent company came back and was just like, okay, we're putting you guys in, and you're dropping this name and stuff. They started at the very top and was like, who's making this much money? Okay, you're not gonna have this position anymore. You're taking a pay cut. You in or out. People go, fuck this, I'm out. The boss, the guy who actually hired me, who recruited me, they gave him two options. They say you're gonna either be A or B. A was you're gonna stay but you're working this position, or B, you're gone. And he was like, I'm gone. Screw this. Because he was gonna lose money and he was getting his position taken away. And we're not saying this is the same. The reason we're using these examples is because that's how companies work. That's how organizations work, especially with the game development company.
Yeah.
And of course, we're gonna feel bad because we're seeing these people and they're on the internet upset. They're like, "Oh, I loved my job. I was working in the field I worked so hard to get, and now I'm gone." I would really love to talk to somebody who worked in the game industry for like 20, 30 plus years.
Yep.
And see how many companies have they been laid off from, as like just like what happens, what's the process.
It would be
Because
interesting to analyze how many layoffs go on in gaming versus other industries too, because I wonder if it is really that much higher, and maybe it's just an industry that has that type of turnover. And is it getting worse? It seems like it, but maybe it's just because of social media, more eyes on it. It's hard to know.
yeah, and what you see a lot of with a lot of companies, like let's take like Tradeoc, Infinity War, Sledgehammer, all those companies were like Call of Duty companies. And usually, what happens when some guys get let go, they're like, "Wait, we can just go make our own fucking company and do what we want." Look at fucking Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima left Konami because Konami was changing what they were doing. He was like, "This is not what I want to do. I'm gone. I'm gonna make my own company." Hideo Kojima was with Konami and he put out all of the Metal Gear series, and he had fucking history. He had tenure. So could you imagine somebody like Hideo Kojima getting let go or leaving Konami, right? And they're saying, "Oh, woe is me. I'm done. I don't know what to do."
And what's funny is these companies, like, they don't think, hey, this is the best employee ever, we've got to keep them. They think this is what we have to do for the bottom line right now. They don't think the same way that like consumers think that they think,
You gotta remember when Hideo made his own company, I'm pretty sure he brought people with him that were like, "We love your work. We want to continue with you." You gotta ask yourself a lot of times, like, when you get let go, where's my next step? And am I that valuable to the next company, or can I do this on my own?
Very
right
few
now?
people are actually that valuable. Now, some people do have job security for one reason or another, and we've talked about that before. But like,
Yeah.
most people don't have that much job security and can be replaced in an instant, and they know that.
Yeah.
And so if they fire someone who's really good at their job or who could be the next Hideo Kojima, it's like they don't care because they're like, well, somebody else can still do the job. And they also only need so much creativity out of people when it's a big corp because they'll just get somebody else's creativity and they'll mold it the way that they want it at the end of the day. And they want people who are going to be yes people with ideas within the context of the realm that they want it to be at the end of the day.
Or they fire that one guy who was making like $300K a year and split his job into a 3-person job. So like a lot of corporate companies, like a guy who is like the regional director of project management, it'd be one guy, and then they fire that one guy, and then they put 3 people to do his job, and they pay him way less. That's how business works, and it sucks.
And they want certain
I know
roles
a lot of people
too, like, and not just
Yeah.
roles like what they define, like, because sure, I had like financial analyst or whatever, senior financial analyst, like I had whatever title at any given time, but that never mattered. It was, and it wasn't even what department you were in. It was like what you were known for. Right. And so I was known for something really specific, which was fixing things. But I was not the one you wanted to necessarily give all of your tedious work to because I was going to try to fix it. And I was going to try to make it better.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody wants those reports to go off of their team because I've like, made it more efficient, they want me. But if they want to keep shit how they want to keep it, because a lot of people do. A lot of people don't want things moving around. They want it to stay the same. They want comfort, They're not going to want me on their team, And so it's like everybody has a specific flavor of how they work. And you don't want a million me's, just like you don't want a million people who are only going to be just like your little like tedious people, you know? Like you've got to have a mix of everybody. And if they have too many people on one end for what they need at the time for their team, they're going to let you go if they don't have an easy place to move you to, you know? And so it's not that you're bad. It's just they're looking at everything as like a puzzle, and your puzzle piece doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And then after this point, like there's also people in the gaming industry who don't take upfront salaries, or they get like it's like a pay thing. So I forgot how so it kind of works like this. I'm gonna pay you X amount of dollars to work on the project. Now, when the project is done, you will make residuals from it. So if we make X amount of dollars, you get X amount. So there's people who do that and want the game to fucking. I think people who do that make sure the game fucking succeeds.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, if I work for this company who puts out fucking banger games that fucking pull in millions of dollars in the first 2 days, I'm going to sit there and take that fucking small salary,
mm-hmm.
right? Because I know at the end, if that game pops, I'm going to be fucking rolling the dough. And a lot of fucking CEOs of companies do that too. They don't see their money.
You follow the money, because you see, you've got to see where the bonuses are going and coming from, because that is how you can tell what their motivation is in making the game. There's almost never a time in any industry where they want the best product. Unfortunately, what they want is the best selling product. Those are two often quite different things.
Exactly. So your game could be a complete dog shit. Complete dog shit. It could be the worst game ever fucking made. But guess what? I just sold fucking 2 million units. I hit my nut. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
The game sucks. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, guess what? It was a bad game. We'll shut down servers. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
The guys from Concord, I don't even think they made their money back. They fucking dumped a whole bunch of money into that. It's not coming back. And when they saw there was no saving it, they were just like, fuck this. Look at the game Battleborn. Battleborn was supposed to be an Overwatch contender and killer. Everybody's like, Battleborn's gonna take Overwatch and got shit on Battleborn. Battleborn was pulling numbers. But what happened when Overwatch came? The player base started to rise up. Battleborn held on the good fight, and now it's gone. There's a lot of games that come out that try to compete and be a killer of another game, and it dies.
Yeah, the killers are so rare, if we're being honest.
A perfect example, Anthem. Anthem was supposed to be a Destiny killer. Anthem had everything right. You could feel like Iron Man. The fucking it felt like the mapping of everything felt like this was going to be the game. But something happened. I don't know what exactly happened that caused Anthem to fucking crumble and die, but whatever it was, I think it was something that they weren't trying to put out more content. Something fucked up. But Anthem, a game that had the potential to kill Destiny, just died.
And you know what that sounds like? Is that
what?
It was, you're saying it like it was a good game, like it had good features, like it should have on paper worked, right? But it's not about it being best. It's about it being best selling. And there are so many factors, as you know, from coming from sales, that are going to make it more best selling than an actual good product. Like, drives me nuts. I hate it with my entire soul. I want the best products to win, and that's just not how the world works.
No, we get dog shit products that kind of cater to people.
Yes. Sometimes it's like convenience, for instance. That's like a thing that'll sell above something being better.
Yeah. I mean, look, everybody, Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year. Were there other games that could have won? Absolutely. 2024, I want to know what's going to win Game of the Year. We got like games like Wukong. Black Myth Wukong was a phenomenal game.
I don't think Wukong will win. I also don't think Dragon Age is going to win.
I don't think they're going to be nominated. I don't think they're going to.
I think Dragon Age will be nominated. I don't know if Wukong will be. I think it should be. But I don't think either of them will win necessarily.
I think Dragon Age will win.
You think it will?
I think it will.
I think it could. At this point, I don't think it will, but I think I wouldn't be surprised either, if that makes sense. I do think that it's going to be profitable over time, though. I did an analysis on it yesterday, and people are like yelling at me, and I'm like, okay, but like we're working with limited data, and the limited data that we have all points to it most likely being profitable. Now, do I think that it could not be profitable? Yes, but I think everything that I've seen generally points to it most likely achieving profitability.
I think it winning Game of the Year is just basically based on like just the whole inclusion type feel of it.
Oh, you
Like
think
it,
like who judges these things, like these awards and stuff?
I
What kind
mean,
of
it
people?
goes to the people first, and then it goes to the industry after that. People in the industry, they take
But,
our
like, who are
votes and
these
stuff,
people
and
in the industry? What are their qualifications?
like the shadow government.
Yeah, like like that's like what you know what I mean? Like what does that
Like,
matter?
let's
You
be
know?
honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Okay, 2023, we had Baldur's Gate 3 and a ton of other games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you honestly believe Baldur's Gate 3 should have won? In your
I mean,
hearts of hearts.
everybody was talking about it. So if we're
Okay.
if like GOTY is like a popularity contest, which I also think is like kind of silly at the end of the day. Like I think award shows are pretty stupid. Like just my personal like I just don't see the point most of the time because it's not actually representative of much. It's just like it's not even the popularity actually. It's like a bunch of people in a room choose it. It's like what, a dozen people or something making the decision for everyone. I just think that's silly. Like what are your qualifications? Like I want to see an actual analysis of why you chose it, you know?
So, in the nominees for Game of the Year for 2023 were Alan Wake 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Baldur's Gate 3, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Marvel Spider-Man 2.
I think probably I could see Zelda or Spider-Man taking it as well, just based on what people said. But I know people didn't like Tears of the Kingdom as much as Breath of the Wild, even though it had technically like it was improved technically, but like people were more surprised by Breath of the Wild because it was already like a huge jump. So I think it's from what I've seen, Tears of the Kingdom just didn't get its due. So like Tears of the Kingdom and Spider-Man, I could see because people loved Spider-Man too. I mean. And it is like as much as it's very cinematic and maybe not like the most innovative thing in the world, just the what's it called? The why am I forgetting the name of it that starts with a T? Like movement, not transportation,
T.
but
T is for time.
like transportation, like movement across the map. What's the word? Traversal. Yeah, traversal. So like it has traversal that no other game does, and that makes it intriguing in and of itself. So I think there's like enough, like depending on what the elements even are that you're analyzing. Is it just because it was popular? Is it because it got like a lot of good ratings? Is it because you personally like it? Is it because it's graphically achieving a lot? Is it because it's not buggy? Like what is it that they're looking at? Probably
Exactly.
all of that, right?
So just hearing those nominees.
Or maybe it's like you're saying, right? Like maybe it's because they were inclusive. Maybe that's part of it.
But if you think about it, it's a Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate like is a well-known freaking franchise. It's D&D. It had you could do anything you want. It was D&D mechanics. It was play how you feel, traversal, do what you want, different quest lines, hours of replay. You could fuck everybody you want to fuck. It was very inclusive.
When you put it like that, I mean, it sounds like it should win, right? Like it has a lot of stuff that other games don't.
But here's the thing: is that everything I want in the game?
No, it's not. I mean, I didn't play it either.
Do I want a turn-based game? I don't like a turn-based game. Do I want a turn-based game where everything is based on chance and rolling a dice?
Not me.
Okay. Do I want to spend time romancing people so I could get fucking different quest lines?
Sometimes
is that
that's
for
fun.
me? Okay. Sometimes we know you want to because you banged banged somebody 69 times. We know. Okay. We get it.
But the top down type of gaming also isn't for me. Like I really like.
Exactly.
I'm a very close third lover. Like I like Sony's close third. That's my favorite. You know, I'm there.
It's combat. So what are you, like you said, what are you analyzing? What are you reviewing? When you think of games like that, Spider-Man 2, is Spider-Man 2 continue a good story? Story was all right in my sense. Gameplay, great. Transversal, great. Graphics, great. Score, great. You felt, where it felt kind of like on the Wayward is when they gave Miles that dog shit costume at the end. That was terrible.
What else came
and his
out
hairstyle
last
was
year?
fucking
Trying to think
atrocious.
what my goatee would be. What came out last year?
Resident Evil 4 Remake, Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2,
Honestly,
Tears of the
probably
Kingdom.
Mirage for me, just because I like Assassin's Creed. But that doesn't mean it should be goatee. I just like Assassin's Creed. I mean, it was a smaller Assassin's Creed title. Like, it was initially meant to be a DLC, so it didn't have like the launch of a normal Assassin's Creed game. But
I mean, look at game. Remember, who won 2022? I think it was Elden Ring won 2022.
That's fair. Yeah, that seems right.
Let's see.
You know what some people have said? Some people think that the Elden Ring DLC will take it this year. just
Yeah,
like the DLC
Elden Ring
itself, which
won
would be nuts to see a
2022.
DLC win.
Elden Ring. You gotta think. Wait, hold on. We'll be backing it up with story within Elden Ring. Is a story is just not given to you. It's not like here's a story. Elden Ring story, you gotta read a whole bunch of fucking items. You
Which
gotta
isn't
fucking
for everyone. Let's be very upfront about it.
yeah, it's a lot, and the game is fucking not as easy as you think. I mean, they made it a little more easier because with the mimics and all that stuff, but
They made it easy with grinding if you want to get all that stuff. You know what I
yes,
mean? But
and
that doesn't mean everybody wants to either.
but there was all these bosses, there was multiple bosses, all this stuff. There's a lot going on with Elden Ring, right? The game is not for everybody, but that game won Story of the Year. I mean, Game of the Year.
Do you think that like
Why?
Goaty
Was it because
should
it was
be for
popular?
everyone? Maybe. Like, should
I-
Goaty be the like this is the everyone game? Maybe. I mean, that's why I think awards are so silly. It's like, what is it even representative of? Like,
Exactly. So what? So what are they looking at? Because Elden Ring was the fucking game everybody was hyping and dick riding.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 came out. That was a game everybody
and
was
so if
hyping
anything,
and
just make it a popularity contest. You know, like
that's what I feel it is.
which like I still think is kind of silly, but at the same time, but it doesn't even seem like a popularity contest because isn't it decided by just like probably a dozen people in a room?
Who knows?
You know,
I
pretty
believe
sure.
I
I'm
believe
pretty
we
sure
vote.
it's,
I
like,
think we voted.
decided
I
by,
want
like,
to
a
say
few
we
people.
vote.
I don't
I
think
think we're the ones who
people are
vote.
voting. I'm pretty sure we might have to look this up, but I'm pretty sure like people decide it. There's like a team for Goaty, like most award
Yeah,
shows.
Then it's just I don't know. And put it like this. Mark my words. If on this day, November 3rd, 2024, at fucking 8:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if fucking not Baldur's Gate 3, Dragon Age is it Inquisition? What is this one?
Veilguard.
If Dragon Age Veilguard wins Game of the Year, it proves my theory that the game won Game of the Year because of its inclusivity.
I don't know if it proves it, but I also wouldn't be surprised by that being part of it. You know, if there's people sitting in a room, maybe that is what they're saying. It's like, well, this one was innovative in inclusivity, and then they take that into account. They're like, okay, cool.
It wasn't innovative because it does the same form. It's the same shit. What's innovating? It wasn't What is innovative?
No. Okay, so innovative inclusivity in terms of like that level of inclusivity for that group hasn't been seen before necessarily, especially on this large scale. That's like whether you like it or not, that's true. On top of that, if you break down, like, even though it's on the nose, because I had a conversation with someone where they were like, well, not everything has to be subtle either. Like, it's okay for some things to be on the nose and a little bit cliche and a little bit cheesy, because sometimes people are so unfamiliar. That's the way to kind of communicate it starting out. And I was like, okay, I could see that. There was one in particular I saw a scene where, like, the context and content aside, I was impressed by the way that they broke out, like, how you can emotionally break down what someone's going through and relate to them better. And so people were only looking at the context. They were like, oh, this person's having like a literal identity crisis, right? And they didn't like it. And they're like, well, I don't want to see anything about the non-binary trans identity. Like, they just weren't into, like, they're, you know, that whole conversation over there where people are being either hateful or they just don't want to see it, or there's some combination of the two. And if you take that context out and you just look at what the people were doing in the conversation, they were breaking out, hey, why are you upset? And they were breaking down the whys, like you would in consulting or business or anything else. It's that, like, concept of breaking down where the actual fixable thing is. And I thought that was interesting. And so there, I do find that a little bit innovative, because there's not a lot of games that go into conversations with that type of, like, ideology where you could break it down like that. And so that is something that people really could learn from if they've not learned that type of thinking before. But people are so, like, anti things, they can't choose to, you know, see them objectively, and they miss out because of that, you know?
Yeah, sometimes, you know, I don't know if I ever mentioned this. Like, when I first saw Kingdom Hearts, the commercial for Kingdom Hearts way back when I was a young man learning his way, and I saw the commercial, I was like, this is fucking stupid. Final Fantasy characters with Disney characters is stupid. And the next thing you know, I play the game. It's my most favorite game. I love the game. I have tattoos on my chest. Like, it breaks me down. Just like, I almost didn't give that game a chance because, again, I saw it and I was like, this looks stupid. It doesn't make sense. Then I played it and I was like, this is the greatest game I ever played. And like I fell into it. Even like with Elden Ring and even the Soulsborne series. I was kind of taken back by the games because like all I heard was the games are hard, the games are hard, the games are hard, the games are hard. If I didn't buy Bloodborne, I didn't even know Bloodborne was made by FromSoft. I didn't even know who the fuck FromSoft was. I didn't even know they made a Soul series. I just bought Bloodborne because it reminded me of Nightmare Creatures. Until I started playing it and I was getting my ass handed to me by the first boss. And I was like, well, it's a FromSoft game. So I was like, what does this even mean? They was like, they made the Souls games. I was like, oh, those are games that are possible to beat. So I dipped my toe in it, and then I fucking went head first into all the Souls games. I'm a nut for Souls games. So what you're saying is right. If you just sit there and look at the game and say, this isn't for me because of it includes trans people, includes non-binary, gay, all that stuff, you'll be missing out on a really good game.
And that's why I always ask, like, what percentage of it is it really? Because if it's something that you really just don't like and it's taking up a large percentage, there's a conversation to be had about, like, the validity of course, you're not going to want to engage with that. Whether that's right or wrong is a totally different thing than you being valid for not wanting that, if that makes sense. And so, like, but if it's a small percentage, because most of the time these scenes are, like, 2 minutes long, it's like, okay, but you're spending 100 hours in this game, so... is it that big of a deal at the end of the day? Like, what are you actually doing? Like, you know, you choose any game, and the majority of the time you're playing the game, you're probably going to be riding a fucking horse. You know what I mean? Like, is the horse riding fun for you? Because it better be. Fucking, that's all you do.
Yeah, I mean, I see that's like a fucking fucking jab at some games you play with. Yeah. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, I mean it's even games I like though. You know, like I love Assassin's Creed with my whole soul, but some of the games you're riding a horse for a while, right? It's just part of it. It's just like that's gaming. We haven't figured out enough interesting traversal yet. Now, personally, right, with my bias, Assassin's Creed I think does it really well, and I'm interested in it. But that's
because you like Assassin's Creed.
I'm even saying it sarcastically because I know that's my bias. That's fine, and I know other people will have biases in their games. But at the end of the day, are you enjoying the game while you were riding a fucking horse? Because if you are, when that's boring as shit, you're just holding the joystick forward. Like if you're still enjoying the game in that moment, there's a lot of reasons for that, right? And so if it's interesting, those boring moments, why can't it be interesting for 2 minutes during a conversation that isn't necessarily for you? You know?
Yeah. Speaking of like riding animals, I'm kind of upset.
Okay.
Because I had the game for a while and I haven't had much time to like freaking like touch it and enjoy it. Is the Monster Hunter Wilds beta?
But, oh yeah, you were trying to get me on it.
Dude, yeah, you should still be on it, but you're not on it. No,
you're not.
I think it ends tomorrow.
Oh.
Well, just get it, just download it so you go play. You're like, oh, too bad, I missed out. Maybe next
Monday,
year.
I have Batman to do.
Do it tonight. What are you doing
tonight?
Oh my god, you're the worst. Anyway, so they have a feature you ride that's like, I don't even know, I don't want to say the name, but you ride like a bird, like this bird you ride, right? And it's not boring because here's the thing, you could put it to auto and it just goes to where the monster is, because if you gotta look for a monster, it goes there. When you're on it, as you're on it, you could grab material, you could grab things like, oh, I'm gonna use my hook, I'm gonna grab this stuff, make this stuff. I could sharpen my blade, I can heal myself as I'm riding this creature.
Oh my god, right? I wanted that so badly in RDR2 because like you have to maintain the guns and stuff. I was like, why can't I maintain while I'm driving the horse?
Well, let's be realistic. You can't maintain a gun in motion.
I'm aware, yeah. So it's not realistic. I get it. It's a realistic game. And in Monster Hunter, it's not a realistic game, so you can do whatever the fuck you want. I like that shit.
You're sharpening a blade. How hard is it to sharpen a blade as you're riding? It's like that. You're sharpening the blade.
I mean...
yeah,
dangerous.
Okay.
It's a little dangerous, but like, also, who the fuck cares? Do you want a realistic game or do you want a fun game? You know what I mean? Let me fucking clean the thing on the thing so that I can keep the game moving. You know what I mean? Like, fuck realism, give me fun. That's me personally.
Okay.
If I want real life, I can be here in real life. Fuck real life, dude.
Well, Matt, I got another question for you.
Okay. What is that face? Oh no.
Are you a person who admires the human body at times?
I mean, probably everybody does at some point, I assume.
Do you-
It would be weird
do
for
you-
me to say no.
Do you ever see a drawing and go, I like what I see in that drawing?
Not that I can think of.
Body-wise.
Like, so specifically,
Okay.
no, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Like,
You-
are you talking
you-
about like games? Because they're technically sometimes drawing, sort of.
games-
I mean, it's like it's like a
Art-
very developed drawing. But like even then,
Mangas.
it's like I can see like objectively, like okay, yeah, that character objectively, you know. And the closer they look to a human, the more realistic they are. Speaking of realism, like maybe you start to, you know, think like, okay, that person is objectively attractive, sure.
Okay.
But like a
Now,
drawing, maybe like a stick figure, you know, like there's
Not
there's
a stick
levels, right?
figure.
I mean, like there's like levels, but like maybe if you like came up with this insane story about a stick figure and it just like happened to be like everything that I've ever wanted in a human being, like maybe all of a sudden I'd be like, that's my stick figure, you know?
Okay. Well, we know. Okay, we got it. We know you like stick figures. Got it. Okay. So, Matt, you identify as a female, right? That's your.
Indeed. I do. Though
You do?
the internet would yell at me for saying that and they'd try to cancel me and be like, you're a bitch. Because I'm not
Okay,
allowed to
well.
call myself a female, apparently. I'm like, bitch,
You're-
I am a female. Fuck off.
I-
It's not
I listen-
inclusive to call myself a female. Fuck off with that. I'm a female. God damn,
Hey, listen,
dude.
take it easy there, lady. Take it easy,
I've
right?
had people
I-
yell at me and tell me that I am like the worst of the worst human being because I dare call myself what I am. Jesus Christ, man.
I just listen. I'm asking you because I want to make sure I didn't want to offend you. Okay.
Well, you're not gonna offend me.
So-
You're just gonna offend the rest of the internet, apparently.
So, when you see a very well-developed woman in games and media,
Yeah.
right? Especially games and animes and stuff, do you feel it's harmful to you?
No.
Okay. Well, the UN Committee is upset at the Japanese and wants them to tone down how they draw their characters because it is harmful to women, and they're saying it may incite violence against women and girls.
Okay, so I have
Because
two
of-
thoughts. One is that like the porn brain thing, right? And I talk about that sometimes, and I have that complex thoughts of like, again, there is some justification for wanting less porn in society. Like I'm kind of on that boat and on that train. But I'm
Yes,
also
okay.
on the train of freedom. So I struggle with jumping across those trains, okay?
Okay.
But
So-
do I think it ever incites violence? Not that I can think of personally. If I see a
Yes.
well-endowed woman, I actually noticed, I thought one of the characters in Until Dawn had like bigger boobs. I just noticed it right off the bat because they were like leaning over us at the like in the initial scene, and I was like, "Holy boobs!" And chat was like, "Boobs," and we were all like, "Boobs." And that was,
Yeah, when
that was
I
the end
say
of that.
boobs, it's a laugh, but when
Yeah.
she says boobs, it's
It was
okay.
also
It's
a
okay
laugh.
for women.
Yeah, it was a laugh. Exactly. But it's not like, you know, like I don't really understand how that would incite violence. That's aggressive. I mean,
So
video
the
games already
United-
don't incite violence. That's like been more or less proven with studies, and people have come at video games like they're making my kid violent. No, you and the way that you're raising them is making them violent.
Exactly. Video games never. Well, have I gotten violent and broke things because of video games? Yes, but,
But
it
like
doesn't make
chicken
me
and
violent.
egg, you know, you just want to throw things. Video games is just the outlet for that.
What did you just say?
Chicken and egg.
What the fuck does that even mean? What kind of? What? I've
You've never heard of
that.
chicken and egg? Like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, but I never heard it used in that like context.
But that's what it means. Chicken and egg.
I feel like this is a whole other episode to happen. But so the United Nations here. This is United Nations. This is from the United Nations Committee of Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. The CEDAW has reportedly expressed concerns about Japanese media and its speculated impact it could have on gender and sex-based violence.
I mean,
According to
are
the Free
they-
Speech Advocate.
does the game in question have sex-based violence in
No,
it?
it's not the game. It's not the game. It's no games.
Oh.
It's no games. It's just anime.
Oh, does the anime have sex-based violence
It's
in
just,
it?
I mean, it's anime. Anime has violence towards everybody.
Well, if
They
it's
have
not
violence towards
if it's not
kids.
discriminatory specifically to a group, then that's like saying South Park is offensive. Like, fuck off. It's
Well,
offensive to everyone.
it's more in the sense. It's more in the sense like how they draw the women in animes. Look at you ever watch?
I don't
Look at
watch
the anime.
so
Oh my god, why? What do you do, Mad? Besides work?
I work,
Is that all you
dude.
do?
I work, and then sometimes
work.
I go outside and go to the gym and do stuff like and hang out with friends, have a
God.
drink. You know,
Okay,
enjoy
well-
like just enjoy Earth, smell the roses, and then come back and fucking.
Okay, you
work.
touch grass. Okay, we're all slobs and you touch grass. Clap for yourself.
I cooked today, for instance.
Oh
I gotta
my-
finish cleaning up
we-
the kitchen when we're done here, and then edit. I
So
don't know,
here's
like,
Mad.
Maybe do a
This
load
is
of
Mad
laundry.
telling us she's better than all of us.
That is not
and
at all what I
actually
said.
is-
I've been I've been watching like so I could watch like anime while I'm doing that. I do. I've been watching Gilmore Girl in the background. It's been my show lately.
for the how many
Background show.
time?
The first time. I've never watched it before.
This is your first time seeing Gilmore
Yeah,
Girls?
it's really good.
Okay, okay.
But it's a
Anyway.
perfect background show because they talk nonstop instead of like having to watch it. So if I'm like watching it, cool, like while I'm doing stuff, but I can move it around with me while I'm like doing laundry or dishes or whatever.
Well, there's different type of animes. There's isekai, there's slice of life, and there's all that stuff. But that's a whole different story. But a lot of times in the anime, the women are drawn like what people say unrealistic. So it's like small waist, huge boobs, big butt, and like super attractive and stuff. It's like people say that's unrealistic. So their whole thing is saying that you know, there's this whole notion that a lot of these women are drawn in a way that is unrealistic and hurt real women.
How does
like,
an
a real-
unrealistic character hurt a group of people?
Because then it promotes that whole body image thing, like, oh, I have to look like this, and you know, women don't really look like this, and then men get, like you say, you develop that porn brain, right?
Yeah, I
Which
can
and
see
it's like the concerns were expressed that pornography, video games, manga, and other animated products may incite violence against women and girls based on their gender or sexual orientation.
I don't
It
know about
further
violence,
recommend
but it might mess up some mentalities. Absolutely, like all the Photoshop shit, you know, is messing with all of our minds.
So they're saying like the games, the mangas and stuff, and coming from Japan is like, this is bad. It's gonna cite violence against women, and it hurts women because, again, unrealistic bodies. And all I have to say is this: people who cancel me, go fuck yourself. I have seen cosplayers who have the same body proportions as the fucking anime girls. So I don't want to hear anything about unrealistic because I've seen the unrealistic in real life,
Right.
and you can look them up because maybe it's not attainable to you because you don't want to put in the work to get there.
Mhm.
Same thing for men. You never hear once ever from men unrealistic body types in men.
Well, I also
I
don't
mean-
know that media has to control people. And that's something that people don't want to have a conversation about. You know, like people are constantly like propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. And I get it. We don't propaganda bad, but we also have our own brains. And I feel like propaganda only works if you're not fucking using your brain. And we just let it happen and we let it control us as a society. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as we in some way rise up and say, hey, this is propaganda, call it out and create our own shit we like and engage with the stuff we like, it can't really take over very easily. And so like with that kind of mentality, it's like you as a guy, if you are seeing big boobs in anime specifically, like is that gonna make you really think that are you only ever gonna be attracted to that now? Maybe, I don't know, but do you think like if that's all you consumed most of the time, like 80% of your content, do you think that would make it so you wouldn't appreciate a woman that has small boobs? Like would that change your brain? I don't know.
Let me answer that for you.
Okay.
All boobs matters. Okay.
See, that's
thank
what
you.
I was thinking. That's what I was saying. I don't think it's going to change. Like, it does alter your brain for what you consume. It really, really does.
It
But
can,
only
yes.
to a certain extent and to the extent that you let it and acknowledge it. And you have to, like, self-analyze, too.
So, okay. So I can say this. If this is all you consume, if you could, I'd say this. If you consume a certain type of media, there's going to be a perspective in your head constantly. Like, let's say all you consume is rom-com comedy, right? Rom-com comedy. That's all you consume, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a child to adult.
Mhm.
And then you finally go talk to a real woman, you try to reenact what you saw in rom-coms. Oh, I have to be this way, that way, this way, that way, right?
Yep.
You may come out, you may always see yourself failing or something. Who
Yeah,
knows?
and like the Disney
the Disney effect.
Yeah.
Because you always want to be the chivalrous man. You have to
And
provide.
the women always want to be like damsel in distress. Like, I need
Exactly.
a man to come save me. Tell you what.
I never heard of a country girl saying that, because country women can take care of their damn selves, but
All
you got to
women
do something with
can,
your
just some
voices.
choose not to.
You got to do something with your voices. I can't with your voices.
Oh, sorry.
But
I just need a man to come save me. I'm a
but it's still
damsel.
country.
Oh, no.
You still. I can't with you, Mad. I can't. That was a good voice acting. Hire Mad for voice acting. You see that? She put some inflation in her voice. She actually sounded like I felt that. I felt like I really had to go save her. Anyway. But going back, I do feel like the more media you consume, the more your brain gets. And that's why I say, like with Twitch, like with how a lot of girls are on Twitch, like the kind of the ones who are like, you know what you're doing type thing. If you're a young kid and that's all you see, and when you see how women react because you give them a few couple of dollars, and
I think kids
they're gonna do something for you,
are like what they're consuming becomes them 100%. Now adults, there's a little bit more of a difference, but kids, 100% whatever they're consuming, that is becoming their identity. 100%. Their brains are still forming. Like it's dangerous what you let kids watch. For sure.
So if I'm a teenage boy going through puberty and I'm on whatever websites and I'm seeing girls jump up and down, jiggly and boobly the minute you give them a couple of bucks, and they're constantly talking about sex and this and stuff. When I get to a certain age and start actually talking to real women, all I have in my mind is what I saw on the internet. That's all I consumed was what I saw on the internet.
Well, and that's why people come out of childhood and their societies, if they like live in a very like siloed society, not knowing a lot about the rest of the world, and that can come off very like conflict. Like that can cause a lot of conflict. I know, like I grew up in a society that was very insular, and so when I got out into the world, it was very much like a lot of the things that I thought right when I came out of like into adulthood are different than what I think now, because I had a lot to then consume that would be different than the perspective I had known for so long. And if you're not open to that and you stay insular, you're going to have a lot of conflict in life, because you're going to, meet people who are not of your mindset, unless you stay in that insular community, which is possible, but it's just not as possible these days with everything globalization and internet.
But circling back, do you as a woman, do you feel these type of media are harmful to you?
Well, now that we had that whole conversation, I can see an argument for saying to some extent, yes. If somebody's consuming a lot of it, or a child consuming it, of course, right? Because then they're going to grow up on that, and they're going to have that perspective of like, this is what women are. And they're not going to see women as people. They're going to see them as objects. And they're not going to know how to associate with a woman. And they're going to put them on a different type of pedestal.
Who do you blame for that?
I would blame whoever let them watch it, because whoever's making the media is not to blame. It's whoever's letting their kid watch it, right? In my mind. Yeah. And as an adult, it's on you for consuming it. Somebody creating something doesn't necessarily do anything unless you're forcing it on someone. Yes,
if you have as we've been saying, porn brain, and all you see is a woman as a fucking sexual object. Same thing for this. I'm just saying, men. There's women who do the same thing.
Yeah.
Women who see other women or other guys as nothing but sexual objects. Then that is on you. You can't. It's the perfect example. Is like if I give you a gun, right? And I'm saying, here's the gun. That's the gun. I'm gone.
The gun's the
here's
tool.
the gun.
Yeah, it's a
tool.
The
gun's the tool.
Yep.
This is the tool. Whatever you do with this tool, that is not on me. It's on you.
Yep.
You bought it from me.
And a lot of people would argue with you till the day is done about that, because but I think you and I are on the same page that what you were given is a tool. And I mean, if we were to like circle this all the way back to the beginning of the conversation too, we could say the same thing about like inclusivity, right? Inclusivity or sex, right? Those are the two things a lot of people are fighting for. Some people want, the inclusivity for different identities. Some people want boobs. Okay. And both of those things are not necessarily bad to put into art, right? But there are people on either side complaining like, I don't want boobs in my art. And there are other people like, I don't want trans people in my art. And only one of those technically is getting as much flack as the other, if we're being perfectly honest, but they're both getting conflict on those sides.
Yes.
And so, like, what do we, you know what I mean? Like, I personally am on the side of freedom in art, like, most of the time. There's going to be some stuff that's more harmful than others, and if you can prove it's harmful, like they're trying to do, it seems like, that's where you have an argument of like, okay, let's limit this. But I don't see, if it's like, it depends on the amount, right? And I think that's where people are upset with inclusion, is they're like, well, most of the art now is becoming inclusion. And so they're like, there's no art for me anymore. Same with like, if all of the anime is very boobalicious, like there's not much art for them to consume if they really like anime. So it's like, maybe it's the volume that's the issue. I don't know.
But the thing is like, there's, in real life, there's different bodies and shapes and sizes. And some of the stuff you see in the anime, I've seen in real life. Again, there are cosplayers who are fucking, you sit there, I'm like, this, like, somebody drew you and I saw you in a cartoon. I'm like, I'm not just talking about the slim, busty women. I'm talking even the fucking muscular women, the fucking Amazonians. They have all that. I've seen that in anime and I've seen it in real life. It's there. It's not, to say it's hurting real women in a way where, like, people, you know, it gives them body dysmorphia function and stuff. You can see the same thing for Hollywood. Like, a lot of time Hollywood, who's that? Sydney Sweet.
Argument on either side, right? Because
what's Sydney Sweet? That's her name, right?
Yeah.
She's all everybody's talking about. Everybody's reverting back because she's what? She has boobs. Everybody's like, titties, boobs. Men go stupid for her. Even women go stupid for her. Because why? She's attractive. She has boobs. So you're saying there's no other women like her in the world? She's a unicorn? Because it's not.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
and I think.
But does that woman hurt you? Do you seeing her? Does that hurt you, Matt?
No, and that's the thing, is like, Hollywood has been used on both sides, right? They've said, okay, well, these people are giving a bad body image because they're too skinny, and nobody can achieve that healthily. Blah blah blah. Some people, of course, can. Everybody has different body types, but like a lot of people can't, and so it can feed that. And I feel like as a people, we need to, like, whether you want more sex and stuff or you want more inclusivity and stuff, like, I think we need to have a real fucking discussion like we're having now, but like as a society, of saying, do you want freedom or not? You know?
Exactly.
Like, I personally am on the side of freedom. Even if I think that like maybe porn shouldn't be in games personally, I'm not going to go out there and try to limit people most of the time. I'm just going to say, I don't think porn should be in games.
Yeah,
That's
and you're not going to play games
right to say and have an opinion on, and maybe I don't engage with the games that have as much of it, and maybe or you know what I mean, like, or maybe I make my own stuff that doesn't have it, or maybe I promote the games that doesn't have it. You know what I mean? Like, that's my right to engage with art however I want. But I think we need to be engaging with the art we like and disengaging from the art we don't, but not necessarily saying anything is right or wrong, because do we want freedom or do we not?
We want to be. It seems like we just want to be restricted. And for you to tell a whole other like country, like stop making this stuff and like don't give it to us, is like, people are gonna get it. When you start restricting people from things, that's when they go get stuff.
Yes.
Drugs are banned, right? Drugs are bad. Mm-hmm. Certain drugs are bad. We all know that, right? Yep. But why is it we still get coke, heroin, and all that stuff? Why do we always have an epidemic of that in some state or somewhere? Mm-hmm. Even though it's outlawed.
And
it's outlawed. It's bad.
And you have to think about it sometimes from a conspiracy theorist point of view, because you have to think like, okay, well, if they made it legal, are more people going to do it or are less people going to do it? You know, like, you have to think about it sometimes, because maybe it is reverse psychology and that they want people to be in a state of not really thinking about much, and that's how they control the population. And so they let drugs be illegal so that the people, you know, buy the drugs, and then they do them, and then less people are thinking about what's actually going on. I don't know. That's just a conspiracy I have, but
I mean, I forgot what state made drugs like completely legal and like is just going to shit. I forgot where. I know like in Maine, it's like zombies walking around certain areas. Even within New York, when they started saying like, oh, we're gonna give all the drug addicts like access to needles. Now you're walking down the street and there's needles all over the place. So, but that's a different thing.
And what's
but
funny
the thing
is like both sides will have it, but like the middle never. Anyway, yeah, we could go real deep into that real quick.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like, we have all these like people saying like this art is hurting this group. And it's always they always make it the women. It's always women. It hurts women. But who is profiting from when these things are made and they make content from it, like the lewd art and a lot of stuff. And mind you, a lot of the drawings from like these busty women coming from Japan are made by women.
I think
It's
we're
women
losing a lot of
drawing.
personal responsibility in these things. Like, and people do want to be controlled. Like you're saying, like people want to be limited. For instance, people want to feel like they're being limited too. They want to play victim. Like with YouTube this week, I've seen multiple people and their posts go viral, and I just want to fucking one time have my actual information go viral because like this is something I know for sure. Like I've talked to some of like the top people that know YouTube about this, specifically about the algorithm, but people are like purporting that the YouTube algorithm is pushing rage bait. And I'm like, no, it's not. You are, because you're fucking engaging with it. Like right now, like stop engaging with it, engage with what you like, and then maybe create what you like. But if you engage with rage bait, that's what happens. And so I'm like, if you don't want your YouTube page to show rage bait, then you need to go look for something that is what you actually want and then engage with that. And it will then recommend to you what those viewers are watching. Right now, it's recommending to you what viewers like you are watching. So you are that type of viewer. That's what it's determining you are. It's not pushing rage bait. It's pushing what it thinks you want as a human being. And if that's not you, then go tell them who you are.
And it just pisses me off because you don't see this coming from men at all. You don't see men saying, having these strong men in these video games, these buff, muscular men, that's harmful to men, is going to create violence against other men. You don't see that. You don't see men ever saying that. Why?
I think
why is it
sexualization
you don't see men?
versus muscular is different too, though.
But can't muscular men be sexualized too? Can't me seeing a muscular man get more attention than a skinny man, a fat man, make me feel some type of way?
I think muscles and like actual, what's the word? Like sexual pieces of your body are a little bit different. So like putting boobs on display or ass on display versus just somebody having muscles is two different things too. If you are sexualizing the muscles, yes, but it's not the muscles, it's the sexualization.
But aren't we sexualizing body parts then too?
The problem is the sexualization, not the muscles, is what I'm trying to say. So yes, it absolutely can be. So like boobs, technically,
boobs are muscle.
Muscles,
boobs are muscle, right?
Boobs and muscle can technically be used for that same concept. Yes.
Exactly. So yeah. So we don't ever see it coming from a male perspective, especially like when have you ever heard there's too many attractive males in Hollywood and it's hurting real men?
It's usually not that. It's usually that all of the men look the same, and that's where we get to the other side of the thing where now we have inclusivity. And so it was like, you know, every character in a game was a white male with like dirty blonde hair, you know, and it was like, or like brunette. It was like they all looked about the same, you know, for a really long time. And so then we went into inclusivity. So I don't know if it was like hot or not. It was just, this is the standard that they've set, you know?
God, the standard sucks. And
yeah,
I really just hate this notion of all that, you know, when unrealistic bodies, unrealistic. Like, no, because the fucking bodies are actually realistic because there are cosplayers who fucking do it perfectly body wise, and it's all out there. Like I said, whether it be skinny, small waist with fucking huge boobs, or fucking voluptuous like crazy.
Yep.
And
that's
then
why I fought
like
against
fucking
the DEI
muscular
chin
women
thing too, because chins are not male or female. That's crazy. Chins are just chins. Yeah.
Some people have a little stronger chin than the others.
Yeah.
Some people have a
calling
little
it like
more
masculine
pointier
and
chin.
feminine is missing the point of masculinity and femininity as applying to that gender. Like, if a woman has that chin, then it's a woman's chin, period. Like, why do you have to label it as feminine and masculine? You know what I mean? And so it's that same, like, all of this applies to the same concept of people are in such of a like narrow point of view, whether that's for sexualization, inclusivity, whatever else, that they can't see outside of what they know to say, okay, people should have the freedom to do this. And like you said, there's so many different body types out there, whether that's a really muscular man, really muscular woman, really boobalicious woman, whatever you want to call it. Like, there's all of these different body types. And if we have representation of that all over the place, I don't see why we want to limit ourselves unless it really is harmful. And so that's where they're playing into, oh, it's harmful, but is it? I don't see how it could be.
Like, I don't know. Is it? I can play devil's advocate and see like how, like you said, men will see women as just objects and always expect that from women, and to see like, oh, this is okay.
But if
And
we have it like
again,
spread
it's
out,
what they consume.
if we have like a
is what
true
they-
variety,
Yeah,
then
Like,
it can't
it's
be
all-
harmful, right?
it's all on the consumers.
It's the consumer's fault for deciding to only engage with the one thing.
Yeah, exactly. But we won't ever blame the consumer. We will always blame the person, the maker.
And you know what they use in order to say, oh, it's not the consumer's fault? Because they do like a manipulation play, right? And they say, oh, you're defending a corporation. That's their manipulation play every time. They'll say like, oh, you're defending the big bad corporation. And it's like, no, I'm saying you have personal responsibility as a human being.
Exactly. Like if all you're consuming is murder, and you become a violent person, that's on you. Nobody didn't. You're not being subjected to it. You're not. No one's holding you down there and telling you consume this. You are actively looking for it. Like I've watched documentaries. Like you ever watch True Life on MTV, old show?
Oh, I remember it. I don't know how much I watched it, but I remember it.
It was one that was like True Life. I'm a porn addict, and this dude was like, I have a job interview at this time. I'm gonna watch a video real quick. The dude sat there and watched porn, missed his job interview because he was sitting there watching porn. And then he went out and bought more porn and he just watched it. It wasn't like he was watching it and like masturbating. He was watching it. Like that's all he consumed and stuff. It was like sitting there and just watching porn. Like, who are you blaming? The porn industry? You gonna blame the porn industry for like having sex and, you know, selling it? And
yeah, that's what I don't like, this like blame game. And I'll say it to either end of the spectrum, right? And that's where I just side on freedom. At the end of the day, like if we keep going down the why angle, I'm always going to be like, well, I think people should have freedom. Of course, there's always going to be limitations, right? Like there's always going to be that like, okay, some things are legitimately harmful. And when I've said, I think that all art is technically good, all games are technically good because there's somebody's art and somebody's created that. And that's a good thing. So people came at me and they're like, you know, saying the worst possible versions of art, like the actual harmful art. And they're like, oh, you're one of those that believes that like every, you know, like all of this should exist and you're horrible and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you know, that's not what I said. You're just taking it to the extreme to be a dick. You know what I mean? Like you're one of the, like, it's like, yes, there is a line where there is harmful art, right? But generally speaking, the rest of the art is a good thing just because somebody created it and created something that is now in existence, right? Even if we don't like it. And as long as it's not harmful. And so when people start calling things harmful that aren't, that's where we start getting into this like really controlled society that I don't like.
And we just gotta stop blaming everybody else. Same thing with goes for like on Twitch and everything, and OnlyFans. Why are you blaming the women making the content? Blame the dudes who are consuming it, the consumer. They're not. If all the girls who are booby streamers on Twitch, if all the horny dudes just stop watching them, you think they're gonna continue to do that? No, but they see the money, they see the market, they see the value. Because why? Because good dudes are horny. And I always said, there's gonna come a day where all the men in the world are gonna wake up and not be horny, and society will prosper, because we're done looking at boobs. We're gonna build things.
And Twitch has been getting into that like hot water a lot with like where they have to start labeling things, and I don't think that's the worst solution, to be honest, where you label things and they can then make it so they're not pushing those things to like the front page where children are seeing it. Like I think that, but
well, you're still gonna find
there
it.
should be different sites for children. I don't think that like in a place where adults are creating and they don't know if children are in their audience, I don't think that's safe either, but that's a whole different topic. At the end of the day, I think it's good to have freedom, but be able to label things in certain ways so that people know what they're getting into. It's like, okay, this is a very inclusive game. This is a very sexual game. This is a very this. I think if we have the right, like, kind of conversations around things and have open communication and actual real marketing and stop lying about shit, then, like, you know, then we're able to engage with the things we want to engage with and then it's up to personal responsibility. And if you're fucking up because you watch the wrong thing over and over and over again and you're only consuming one thing, that's on you.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna leave the question to you. Should we be blaming these companies or people, anything, for providing a product and there's like people consuming it? Are we blaming the company for providing, or are we gonna blame the consumer for, being the consumer? Who's to blame? Who do we point the finger at? And are you sitting there thinking about having sex with Bowser or any Pokemon? Let us know in the comments below so we could judge you. You got any last words, man?
Believe nothing. Trust no one.
My last words is, I want to believe the truth is out there. X-Files.
Don't believe any one source, and don't only watch one source. Variety is
You
the spice
said your
of
last
life.
piece. You said your last piece.
Variety is
That's
the
it.
spice of life. That's my new one.
With variety, the spice of life. Put down the t-shirt. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can stay updated and get when the new videos dropped. I'm Della.
I'm mad curious.
And we will see you in the next one. Take it easy, guys.
Bye.